Hey, welcome back to Lunch Hour Live. I'm your host, Sue O'Connell. So thrilled to see you again. Hey, look at Newsflash 2020. Not such a great year, but every time you read the news, I'm sure you feel like I do, that it's getting worse. And you can just imagine the hard time we're having navigating this year as adults. It must be even harder if you are a kid. And that's where the hit PBS Kids show Arthur comes in. As you are well aware, Arthur's mission of ensuring that everyone can see their lives reflected in the media has been hitting close to home this year as the themes of mask wearing and racism have all made appearance in a series of digital shorts. And here today to discuss the importance of weaving in the challenges of 2020 into children's programming, I'm joined by GBH Senior Executive Producer and Director of Children's Media, Carol Greenwald. Carol, welcome. Good to see you again. And Arthur Associate Producer, Deb Frank. Deb, welcome to Lunch Hour Live. Great to see you.
Thanks for having us.
And reminding you at home, if you're watching, we'd love to hear from you. You can send your comments and questions. Just put them into the comments and we'll get them over here. Hey, Carol. Oh, the themes of this year have been so exceptionally heavy. We've got a deadly pandemic. We've got the protests against police brutality, racism. We've had this heated presidential election, which is going on and on and on. How do you take these complicated topics and make them digestible for kids and for their parents to be able to talk to them about it?
Well, Sue, I think it's such a crucial thing to do because parents are going to be faced with having conversations with kids, whether they're prepared to do it or not. So what we've tried to do is be responsive to situations that have occurred and then find experts to talk to and advisors and other parents and bring in those perspectives and then use our characters as a way of talking them through. It's sort of been a very organic process, actually, because it sort of started just after the pandemic began, when we all were sitting down. We were all kind of, as you know, everybody quickly, without much notice, ended up going into a remote working environment. And we were like, what do we do now? How can we really be in this place? And our head writer said, I really want to do a song about washing your hands. And that was sort of how we started. And everybody got on board really quickly, Mark Brown, the rest of the team. And we were able to pull that, to create that and get it posted in early April. And from there, we've just tried to really be aware of what's going on in the world and respond to it. And you find the resources we could to kind of help parents and kids give them some things to use as starting points for conversations.
And we all needed that song to wash our hands. Believe me, that wasn't just a service for the children in the audience. Deb, it's always a balance, I think, not just for kids, but it's for adults as well, offering that balance between a space for escape so you can take your mind off things and get some entertainment, but also unpacking these topics. How do you balance that? How do you do that?
Yeah, I think Arthur is actually kind of the perfect place for that, because these are characters that people have either grown up with or they're new to them because they're kids, but they're characters that are familiar and funny no matter what they're talking about. So I think, including these difficult topics and in Arthur shorts and using these characters, we were actually able to do both, right? It was a little bit of an escape. It was a way to hear your favorite characters talking about these things in a way that isn't necessarily really, scary like it can be on the news or too adult, because kids are exposed to what's happening. They're hearing what's on the news. They're hearing what their parents are talking about. And I think, Arthur can be an escape whether you're watching a regular episode that's just, a 30-minute on TV thing about Arthur going to school, or if it's, tackling these tougher topics.
I always love the idea of tougher topics with kids, because children forever have had to deal with tough issues and tough topics, either in the world they live in or in their personal lives or in the stories we teach them. I mean, whether it be in religion or in history, But do y'all have an area of issues or topics that you think are off limits?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, we haven't, we've really tried to push the boundaries of what the topics that are good for kids to be taught, that work for kids are. I mean, I think what we feel like is anything that a kid is likely to encounter in the world is something we should be talking about. So if it's, racism, or if it's the issues around the environment, or, there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on every day that our kids are exposed to. So if there are things that are much more adult, maybe we would probably not approach them. And I think we also would be really careful about how to approach all of these topics. We want to make sure that we do it in a way that's developmentally appropriate and that is meaningful to kids. So we're really trying to make sure we get those topics talk about these topics in a way that makes sense for kids.
I always like
something. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, please go, Deb.
I was just going to say, I think something interesting about that question is that I think there are topics also that you might not expect are okay for kids, but I think can be approached. Like, when we decided that we wanted to make a short about the election and voting in particular, we approached our civics advisor, Kay Kawashima Ginsburg from Tufts University, and we were like, how can kids engage with voting? Because we know, even though they can't vote, it is something they can engage with, and it's a topic they can understand and start learning about and be a part of. And she was so helpful in helping us write this script about how kids can be involved and encourage the grown-ups in their lives to vote and still be a part of something that feels grown up, like an election. So I think the question of what is and isn't touchable, I think something that's cool is there are things that that you might think aren't right for kids to be learning about, but we've found that with Arthur you can really start early and get kids thinking about these topics early.
Well, one thing they're learning about now and talking about and hopefully practicing is the importance of wearing a mask. We're going to take a look at a clip. We're going to see my favorite, Francine, explain to Muffy why wearing a mask isn't just to protect yourself, but others too. Let's take a look at it.
I wish this virus thing was over. I am getting so bored.
Hello, Francine. Muffy, ready for our trip to Crosswire Motors where prices can't be beat?
Be right there, Daddy. I have to go. Today is a humongous sales event.
That's right. And my Muffykins is the best sales event decorator in Elwood City. Oh, that reminds me. Now, where did I leave those special...
Okay, just need to grab my purse and I'm ready.
Do you have your mask? You're gonna wear a mask, right?
Only sick people need masks, Francine, and I am not sick.
What?
Although I did stub my toe in the pool, I have this little bruise which you can
Earth to
totally
Muffy.
see when I wear sandals.
Earth to Muffy. If you're going out in public, you 100% need a mask.
But why? I'm not sick, and I don't like how they look.
First of all, you can be sick and not know it. You can have the virus and feel totally fine. Second, without a mask, you could spread it to someone who will get really sick. Like Buster, who has asthma, or Mrs. McGrady, who had cancer, or your grandparents, or someone you don't even know.
But shouldn't they wear the masks?
Of course, but it doesn't help if you're sick and you don't wear one. The only way to keep everyone safe is to wear a mask.
But they make my nose sweaty.
If we all do our part, we can get rid of this virus.
And they fog up my sunglasses.
Just think of all the people who look up to you. Your fans.
You're right. I am such a role model. Daddy, I'm going to need a mask before we go out.
So I love that. It actually works for just about every adult in our life too, right? So telling them that. So Carol, this was one of the digital shorts, and it is amazing to me. I almost didn't even notice that they're in a Zoom box, right? And we're all in some sort of digital framework these days when we're interacting with our loved ones and our teachers. Do you expect that this is going to be something you're going to keep doing until the pandemic is over? The Zoom box in the digital shorts?
Yeah, we hope so. I mean, it's a funny thing because it kind of cuts both ways. We'd love to be able to do more extensive animation and, make them a little fancier, similar to the episodes. But in fact, producing them in this way allows us to do them pretty quickly and pretty easily so that we can sort of churn them out a little bit more. And there's a lot more topics that we'd like to tackle. So we do hope to be able to continue to do these. And maybe actually once the pandemic is over, we'll find other ways to do them as well. Because we really do feel like this is a great format for reaching kids around these kind of important topics.
How long does it take to, one of our viewers wants to know, how long does it take to make one of those digital shorts? I always love how people think because it's digital, it's so much easier. It must just take a couple of minutes. But how long does it take to make one?
Well, it depends. It should take us about 5 weeks. But I can tell you that the last one we did, the voting one, because things happened a little quickly. What did we do it, Deb, in 3.5 weeks?
Yeah, it was less than a month. It was the fastest we've ever made any Arthur content, I say.
Yeah, and everyone had to work so hard and pitch in and cooperate to be able to do that. But we are so glad we did. I think we posted that in the last week in October. And Deb, can you remind me, how many views did it get in the first week?
That's a great question. I can find out. I'm pretty sure in the first week it had almost 500,000 views.
Wow.
This sort of topical thing and clickbaity thing is something we don't get to do often. So it's nice when we can really respond.
Did you get any pushback from folks regarding, it's going to sound, I think, totally bizarre to people in the future if they ever watch this to ask about the controversial subject of wearing a mask. But did you get any pushback about the mask content?
I sort of monitor all of our social media, and as far as I could see, most people were just really grateful to have it as a way to talk to their kid about wearing a mask or talk to people in their lives that maybe weren't or hadn't been or didn't want to. So I didn't see a lot of pushback on social media, and that was actually really great to see, and maybe speaks to how awesome the Arthur fan base is.
Absolutely. Well, of course, the nationwide protests against the police brutality following the murder of George Floyd, the impact of racism, was on everyone's mind, understandably, and then also was on Arthur's mind. We're going to take a look at a clip where we see Arthur and Buster, another one of my favorites, talk to Mrs. McGrady about racism and how they can fight it. Let's take a look.
Hey, Arthur. Hey, Buster. Did you see that video?
Yeah, I just watched it. It was awful. I can't believe someone would be hurt like that just because they're black.
Racism is so unfair. No one should ever judge someone by the color of their skin.
But how could it happen here in Elwood City, right outside the Sugar Bowl?
Buster, it happens everywhere. I was talking to Mrs. McGrady the other day. She said there's a really long history of black people not being treated fairly in this country.
It has to stop.
We have to do something.
Yeah! But what can we do? I'm 8. I can't even fry an egg on my own.
I don't know. Maybe Mrs. McGrady can give us some ideas. Hold on.
Hello, boys. I'm so glad you reached out to me. Yes, I saw the video too. And let me tell you, it made my blood boil.
Me too.
It also made me scared. This happened in our neighborhood.
It is scary, Buster. But you should know that a lot of grown-ups are fighting racism and working hard to keep us all safe.
Why does this keep happening, Mrs. McGrady?
Well, racism is like a disease. If you don't treat it, it's just going to get worse.
Wait, if racism is a disease, can I get it?
Buster, don't worry. This isn't about you.
Actually, it is. It's about all of us. It's not enough to just say, I'm not racist. It's not my problem. We have to actively fight against racism.
Such an amazing, I get goosebumps every time I watch that digital short, and so amazing. And Deb, obviously over the years, Arthur and the spinoffs have unpacked a lot of really important issues. I remember Buster going to visit, the two moms in Vermont while they were, mucking around in the mud up there, and what a big deal that was. And obviously talking about these viral videos of police brutality against Black Americans, which everyone has seen, and whether they're looking for them or not, regardless of whether children should be looking at them without supervision. But I'm wondering, one of the aspects of doing a cartoon is that you get to, with animals, is that the animals don't necessarily need to have race because they're animals, right? Yet you felt compelled to direct this conversation in a direct way instead of in broader terms. How come?
I think there was a lot of conversation around that, and we worked with a lot of different people. And I'm sure I'll let Carol jump in at some point about, how we approached this from a sort of with a wider team. But I think we decided that, we had to be explicit in this moment. And I think something wonderful about Arthur is that, with this big cast of characters, you have some characters that are ambiguous in their race or religion or, anything like that. But then there are some where it's much more explicit, right? We know Brain celebrates Kwanzaa and has a cousin Sheikh from Senegal. And, we do use real countries and real, religions and race every once in a while. But I think, I think with Arthur, it's a blend. And that's sort of the beauty of it, is that sometimes you need to be more explicit. Kids need to see themselves represented in a very explicit way. And sometimes we want to keep it vague so that everyone can see themselves reflected in the characters. So I think with this particular short, it felt like a time where, given what was going on in the world and what kids were seeing, we needed to be very straightforward about it.
Carol, I've been watching Arthur for the whole 25 years, starting with my nieces and nephews and then with my own daughter. And the sort of thread that has kept it together is always being able to frame these adult conversations or issues as serious issues. I don't even want to call them adult conversations because they're conversations we should be having anyway. But has anything changed over the 25 years? Do you feel that Arthur has gotten bolder, or do you feel like in some ways society has caught up to Arthur?
Well, I think Arthur has gotten a little bolder, which I'm thrilled about. I think as we've kind of established Arthur as a character that kids and parents are familiar with, and as we've explored a bunch of different topics, it's given us the ability to kind of maybe push a little further into something that we might not have done in the past. This anti-racism short really grew out a lot from an episode we did with Congressman John Lewis. And that was a really important episode for all of us. I think that was, Deb, which season was that? You'll have to remind me, but it was
season 21. Season 21. So it premiered in, I think, 2018.
2018. And it was really, we were so thrilled to be able to have him as a special guest and to kind of go into what was important to him, which is showing kids that they can stand up when they see something that's unfair, and that they should stand up, and that listening to their conscience is really important. And having done that episode, it felt like a very easy and sensible thing to be able to do this next step, which was this short. So I think we've built over time on the kind of foundation we've made with episodes. And then each time we've been able to sort of maybe push the boundaries a little more, which is great.
Carol, do you have sort of this field vision now where as things are happening, just good things, bad things, just newsy things that will be historic, are you able to sort of look and see that, well, maybe next season or the season after, that's going to be an issue that Arthur will be dealing with, or that's a person who we want to bring onto the show to help us navigate the conversation?
Well, I think, I just will say it's not only me. We have a whole great team of writers. Obviously, we've got Deb, we've got Mark Brown, we have fabulous advisors. And so all of us together start thinking about, well, what should we do? I mean, when we did the Mr. Ratburn episode, it was really one of our writers who said, I think it's time for Mr. Ratburn to get married. And, we kind of think he should be marrying a man. And that was perfect. We love that it grows up from the foundation of the team. And so yes, but me too. I look around and I think, wow, we really should be thinking about this issue. I think something, we've been talking about internally is how can we help build respect between kids for different points of view? So maybe we'll do a short about that in the new year. Who knows?
Well, it's almost Thanksgiving time here in the United States, and Arthur's been working really hard, working on serious issues. And the Thanksgiving special that's coming up is going to let us have a little escape back to the before times a bit, to the world of Elwood City, where Pal and his friend Petunia are going to bring some Thanksgiving dinner to some less fortunate dogs at the animal shelter. Let's take a look.
Hey, wake up.
Huh? Oh, you came back!
I didn't get very far. Listen, about all your leftover Thanksgiving food.
Oh, yeah, help yourself. I just had a meatloaf sandwich.
Oh, it's not for me. I just learned that there are dogs at the shelter who only get kibble and one measly biscuit for Thanksgiving.
No!
Yes.
But that's not fair!
That's just what I said. Will you help me?
Oh, I'll get the carriage. Should we bring the turkey too?
Oh, yes. That's perfect for Thanksgiving. Put it in the basket.
I can't see where I'm going.
That's okay. Just hop up into the carriage and I'll push it.
What? Wait, what'd you say?
Hop up into the carriage!
We're moving.
Hey, come back!
Back from where? Where am I going?
Hold on, I'm right behind you!
How is that you? Where are we going?
Quick, lean to the left!
Huh?
What I love most about that episode, which I don't want to give a spoiler away, but I was very worried about the plate of Brussels sprouts and what was going to happen about that. So having had a dog that once ate a kitchen towel that was soaked in turkey juice, I could totally relate. But what the episode is going to show too is, again, not to be a spoiler, but the thread of giving and what Thanksgiving means. And Carol, the one part that really struck me is when an aunt shows up, who they don't really know that well because they're kids and they haven't seen her. And, she says, I don't want to hug you because I'm not about making people hug people they don't know. And just that level of respect and giving children the permission to express their boundaries, I think is just so core to what Arthur is all about.
Well, thank you for saying that. We love Minnie as a character, and we actually have seen. She was also in the Rhythm and Roots special that we had on the air last year, and she's a different kind of adult. She's not the same adult. She's not the same as mom or dad or any of the other parents. She's lives up by herself. She's a very independent woman, and she's got her boundaries. But in some ways, she and DW really connect because they have similarities.
Means DW, as you refer to me. And Deb, I feel like we are just both, as we're celebrating the ability of the digital shorts and everything to really bring the message of what's happening in the world today. I was so relieved to just see a Thanksgiving special that was just a Thanksgiving special.
Right? We gotta have both, right? Because if kids are only seeing television where everyone's 6 feet apart and wearing masks and not hugging or handshaking, what are they going to do when we hopefully get to a new normal where we can do those things again, right? Some of this is also about, reminding people with some positivity that we are going to do this again eventually, hopefully. And it's, it's going to take patience and time, but maybe someday soon there will be another parade float with you and your class on it, or a Thanksgiving dinner where you can bring together everyone in the backyard. So it's something to look forward to, I think.
All right, so where can people watch Arthur if they want to catch up and want to see the upcoming episodes?
So the Thanksgiving special will be premiering this Monday, November 16th on PBS Kids on broadcast, so people should check their local listings for their local stations. It'll be on the PBS Kids video app or pbskids.org. And there are other episodes that'll be up there too.
Great.
And also,
Carol, go ahead, Carol.
Oh, I was also going to say it's also on the PBS, the Kids channel, WGBH Kids.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Friday night, there'll be a Friday night movie featuring the Thanksgiving special. And that's always kind of a fun family thing to do. So that would be might be a nice way to watch it with your family.
All right, Carol and Deb, thank you so much for taking time to join us at Lunch Hour Live. Great to see you both again. And thanks to everyone watching on the Facebook and the YouTube. Maybe I'll invent FaceTube. That could be the new thing. Next week, I'll be back with Nova's newest documentary, Saving Notre Dame. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you then.